not at all. Miss Kira always busts my chops right before we come on here.
Because it makes you laugh.
Anyway.
Life is not supposed to be so serious.
Sitting on your right, my left, is the beautiful and vivacious, world phenomenal music photographer. And if there's any other adjectives I can use, it's Kira Peterson.
And to my right is Randy Weckerly.
I'm still here. What she just said to me before we came on air.
What?
Horrible.
I didn't.
You did. I can't even go into
it. Are you crying?
It'd be an HR moment. And it's yours. Anyway, today we got a great interview coming from Madison, Wisconsin, our home state. They actually know where we are here in Lake Geneva, high atop the North Shore on Lake Como, overlooking beautiful Geneva Lake. Yeah. Next to Lake Geneva down that way.
Yes.
In Lake Geneva.
I wonder if they're still recovering from partying on Saturday.
Who partied? This is a sad day in Madison.
I know, but they would still party.
They lost.
More reason to party.
They lost. It was terrible. My son graduated from that.
I watched it and then I turned it off because I was sad.
That BYU team that came in there, they were, I'm telling you, they had it going. They were not going to be denied. And when they did the jump around, I was like, that could motivate the other team, meaning us. Did it work? No.
That just means we have to go there sometime soon.
Yeah, the tickets back last Saturday were $8. You know, I could afford that. Now they're going to be Big Ten starts. Try to get a ticket to that in the future. But anyway, we're waiting for Old Sugar Distillery and a great interview coming up here with Walker Fanning. And hopefully he'll refresh his screen so that we can bring him in.
We never finished the story about Tiger. In the press conference.
Well, Tiger today was talking about, he's great. I mean, compared to the years before he got a bad back, he always had this ego that he wouldn't talk to anybody or have fun. This year has been, nobody ever would have guessed that he'd be in the Tour Championship. Nobody ever guessed he would be
at the FedEx Cup.
Even have the chance to win the FedEx Cup. This morning we were studying all the different permutations. Not we, but everybody has. What would it take to Tiger to win the $10 million?
Yep.
Like he needs it.
It's just chunk change.
Doesn't need it. Trust me. But
he can give it to me.
Okay. So this year, it's $30 million, $32 million that they're planning for. So they're changing it next year. We just talked about this last night on our Links and Libations podcast. So go to Links Libations podcast on Apple, iTunes, and
Android.
Pull that up from last night because next year they're changing the FedEx Cup. And Miss Kira, you should find somebody that's single because next year, just in the FedEx Cup, they're planning for $60 million.
I'm sure we'll be able to go this coming year.
We won't have to hold any fundraisers anymore. For those poor guys.
Anyways, what about the conference, press conference?
This morning,
yes.
Our staff writer, Art Strickland.
Out of Texas, the Dusty One.
Author, president of the Texas Golf Raiders.
And he's an author.
He's an author of Links, Lore, and Legends, a great book about Texas golf. Was sitting in the front row asking questions of Tiger Woods. And so I texted him. And I said, "Hey, Art, somebody hijacked your voice. That's really cool. Because I know it couldn't be you, because the question was really cogent." And then I had to define to him what cogent meant, because he's from Texas, if you know what I mean. So,
well, I was going to say, I don't even know what that meant, so I'm glad you clarified.
It means a sensible and clear thought-out question, but that was from our Art
Well,
Strickland.
that is Art, though.
I know it. Well, anyway, I wonder if we should try to give Walker a call. I'm going to do it online because...
On air
and online.
On air.
And see what we get, because somewhere along the line...
And we learned that Jan Stevenson won an award in Australia.
Hey, Walker, we're on air. Have you... Okay? All right. Yeah, so you'll see me talking. We've had a good couple minutes, so we're not going to delete it. So just come on when you can. We'll bring you in. And Walker, we're talking here. He's giving you there in a minute. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. That's pretty cool.
But yeah, Jan Stevenson won an award.
Yep.
In Australia. What was the award for?
Being a really good person. It was a big Hall of Fame award for being a golfer and a really good spokesperson. Jan is out. Hey, look at this. Walker's going to be coming on. Walker Fanning of Old Sugar Distillery up here in
Madtown.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to hear him this time through this phone. Oh, my goodness. Look at that.
Hi, Walker.
Hey, Walker. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Well, we are so excited about talking to you because we have left the state of Florida virtually. We were in St. Louis a half an hour ago. We've been working in Florida, helping create them some dialogue. But we thought you'd be first here in the state of Wisconsin in our Wisconsin Open for Business campaign. And what a great smile. And you got this other stuff. What's this down here, Walker? And what are we working on?
Yeah, this is what you need when you become a farmer.
Really? Well, I thought.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't grow a beard at all until I became a apple farmer, and then
it happened.
Yeah. So do you have an orchard that you're still working in, or what? What's the history of being an apple farmer?
Yeah. So I went to school at UW-Madison and got a degree in agronomy, which is large-scale agriculture essentially. And right out of college, I knew I wanted to work in the industry, and agricultural jobs are very seasonal. So I wanted to work in an industry that had some sort of value-added shelf-stable product. So I looked on the Wisconsin Apple Growers Association website, found the closest orchard to Madison where I wanted to continue living, and I sent them an email just asking if I could volunteer so I could learn about orchard management. And I showed up to the interview just thinking he'd be like, okay, you can volunteer here every Sunday or something like that. And he ends up offering me the orchard manager position. And then as time went on, I took on the sales role, and then they needed help making the hard cider there. So I started helping them. And basically 8 months into it, I was like, okay, I'm kind of getting the hang of this. I should start my own thing. So
nice.
I called up the owner of Old Sugar Distillery, which is where we are today, asked him if he wanted to partner with me on this new brand. And he said, yeah, sure. So we're doing it.
That's super. What a great story.
Yeah.
That's great.
And, so the whole reason I got into the whole cider making thing was because of my passion for agriculture. So I started doing the cider thing and realized, like, man, I'm in a building all day. I went to school to be a farmer, and I love making cider, but I like to have both aspects. So I have a good relationship with Dave Wilds at Appleberry Farm in down Mineral Point Road, and he's awesome. And he asked me if I wanted to help him press cider and pick apples with him for the summer and maybe help out this winter. And I said definitely. So every Thursday I take the day off from the distillery and I go on to the farm and help them out.
Man, I'll tell you what, you sound like a go-getter. Yeah, absolutely. There you go, Miss Kira.
Oh, thank you.
You got one there. Hey, so we've had had a lot of fun meeting a lot of people through the golf and sipping industry, because as we say, golfers golf, then they sip, and with Wisconsin being the #1 golf destination and everything going on, it's a lot of fun. In fact, your homeboy Jerry Kelly, who's #3 in the Champions Tour, if you follow golf, was down at my club a week ago. So we spent about an hour and a half chit-chatting on the putting green. Yeah, Jerry. Have you ever met Jerry? He's a great guy. He's a great spokesperson for.
No, I haven't met him.
Yeah, he was in Steve Stricker's tournament this past year. Yep, there in Madison. We came up and covered that. But enough about that. It's all about you. I love your enthusiasm. When did you get out of UW?
I graduated from UW-Madison in the spring of 2017.
Good for you.
So not ago. But I was lucky enough to partner with the brand right away. That they really wanted to make true, like, English style hard cider. So I got a really good idea of how to make, like, the base is what I call it. So what I do, I buy Wisconsin apples. I buy the juice already pressed. I bring it into the distillery, and then because I want it to be like English style, I add some tannin powder to give it some mouthfeel. And tannin, it's English cider varietals have it, but standard apples, which are largely what's available to cider makers in Wisconsin, they don't really have any tannin. But it works out well for me because in my recipe, I basically assume that the apples will not have any tannin. So then every time I know, okay, I can add it. If I started to buy cider apples, they'd be more expensive, and I would have to figure out how much tannin is in the apple to adjust the amount of tannin that I'm adding to the hard cider. Then once it's all fermented, I get it to 6.8% ABV, and 6.8, I like that number because over 6% you are shelf stable for 2 years. So that's what's really appealing to me, to like not have to worry about a product expiring, and the cider never sits for anywhere close to that time. But and so once the cider's done fermenting, then comes the special part. I infuse them with herbs. So I have with me today, this is the rosehip rosemary hard cider.
Ooh.
And so rose hips are actually the fruit of a rose, and roses are in the apple family. So I boil the rose hips in cider and add it to what I call my base, and it gives it like this tart apple flavor. And then I add the rosemary because I just love to have that aromatic side, and that's how I kind of make all of my flavors. So the other flavor I have with me is hibiscus juniper.
Ooh.
That's a nice like light reddish purpley color. The hibiscus flower is sour and fruity, and the juniper berry, that's what gives gin its flavor. And in our distillery, you see behind me, we have a still, but it's a pot still. So it's really good at caramelizing sugars for things like rum and whiskey, but it doesn't work as well for things like gin and vodka. So we don't make gin or vodka here, but people come in all the time asking for it. And so I said, well, if we don't have gin, I could give them something that's on that same flavor profile to hopefully appease those people. And yeah, so far when we have that on tap and someone's like, give me a gin and juice, I'm like, well, how about this hibiscus juniper cider? Oh yeah, sure, I'll give that a try. So it worked out pretty well.
Wow.
And the third flavor that we've done so far is lemongrass lavender.
Ooh.
And I had a bunch of people, I work in the tasting room too, basically every Thursday and Friday, so I get a lot of feedback right away, and people were telling me, you got to mess around with lavender. I was like, okay. And I went with a friend to Madison Sourdough just down the street from Old Sugar Distillery, and they ordered a lavender lemonade that came out like just straight blue, and I was like, that is an interesting drink. And I go back to the distillery and I open up my bag of herbs and I see, okay, I have lemongrass. All right, I have some lavender here. Maybe I can make a cider on that same flavor profile. And I went for it, and it came out really well. People definitely enjoy it.
It's witchcraft over science here. With
yeah, right.
Yeah. So both of these businesses are located in the same location in Madison.
Yep. So it's Old Sugar Distillery was the original occupant, and this brand is a partnership with the owner of Old Sugar Distillery, and so that's why it's located within. And we kind of move in tandem step. When I promote Hidden Cave Cider, I also want to promote Old Sugar Distillery because they both make fantastic products. Hidden Cave Cidery is new, brand new. Old Sugar Distillery is 8 years old. It's Madison hangout spot for people, and the drinks in here win best cocktail in Madison almost every year. The honey cap, delicious.
Ooh. So what does that entail? That cocktail?
A honey cap.
Yeah.
So it's 4 muddled limes. We make a lime honey mix that we put a little bit in there. Then we do our honey liqueur, ice, soda water, and we flip it over. And it's a really good cocktail. And going around to the other bars like on Capitol that have cocktails that can kind of rival this one, the price is double up over at the Capitol. Here it's just $6. So I think that's why people come in, get it straight from the source.
Shameless plugging by Walker Fanning at before 12 o'clock in the morning. We appreciate that. We love your enthusiasm, Walker. That's awesome. We're actually coming to Madison this Friday.
We might have to make a
well, I have her that we're going to go up and see one of our clients up there who actually is in the business of insuring distillery, wineries, and breweries, and he's got special markets, so he works a very cool guy, Randy Krantz out there at Neckerman, and he does a great job. And we always try to visit him on Fridays, but then Miss Kira takes me by the ear, as my wife assigns me her as my work wife. So I always got to keep her happy on Fridays. But that just sounds cool. I love your enthusiasm. Anybody that comes in and talks to Walker has got to leave with a smile on their face, because it looks like you're having fun every day, Walker. Just your passion.
Oh, definitely.
Your passion. And
I hope everyone with a smile on their face.
No, it's a fun business, and when your pricing is that. Now, after the Badger lost last Saturday, of course, I have a son that graduated back about 6-7 years ago. He wasn't big into sports, but I am. And when I watched that game, I would have left about halftime to come drinking, because that was not good. Not good. We got to recover somehow. So, did you?
Yeah, we definitely had some gloomy Badgers in on that day, but it's more fun when we win and people come to drink and celebrate. But we're definitely here for the hard days to pour an extra long, something filled with whiskey.
Exactly. Exactly. So. It looks like you have a great distribution of what you're doing and what you're working with there. What are your plans for the future, and how much fun are you going to grow this business? I mean, with your enthusiasm, we just want to help you, so send us a bunch of swag for our new office and studio. We want to promote Wisconsin. So if you got T-shirts and empty bottles, or even filled bottles occasionally, we take those. But our studio is going to be filled with our Wisconsin partners. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. We can definitely get some merch out to you. I bought a screen printer from Michael's, so I'll definitely be printing some T-shirts on my own, some fun designs. And
great.
We got some glassware here that says Hidden Cave Cidery and Old Sugar Distillery. So, come by. If you're in Madison on Friday, definitely come by, and I can hook you up with some stuff.
Yeah, we're going to have to do that. We're going to have to go up and do that. Okay, so that'd be a lot of fun. We'll give you a call, make sure that we're going to be there, because typically we'd rather talk drinking than insurance, as everybody would. But, Randy's a good guy, so we have a lot of fun with him.
So what would you want to flavor next with your cider?
Well, so I did a Cascade hopped cider, and I've never made beer, so hops was a new thing for me. But when you boil hops, that's when you get the bitterness out of them. And then if you add hops when it's not boiling, that's called dry hopping, and it's more of like the aromatic side. So I did the hop cider. I made a couple different versions of it, and my favorite was I boiled the hops and then I dry hopped it, so it had just a little bit of bitterness in there, and then the Cascade hops made it like mango-y, and it was like that's exactly what I'm shooting for with all of these herb ciders. I'm trying to create fruit flavors from non-fruit things, from herbs, so like flowers and such. The other flavor that I really want to do, but it's a little bit trickier, it's called high bush cranberry. It's this kind of cranberry that it grows in a tall bush, and a lot of people have them for ornamental, but the ornamentals don't taste good. You have to like forage for these berries, and I talked to, and the reason I was able to take those flavors as far as I have is Linda Conroy at Moonwise Herbs. She teaches a class at Obrick Garden, and it was just about all of these different herbs that you can find in Wisconsin and how to prepare them, and that's where I learned about rose hips. And when I made the hibiscus juniper cider, I called her up and I said, how do I use the juniper? And she's always been really helpful, and yeah, it's really just, I knew I wanted to do something as close to simple and as possible, and I thought herbs would do that. I took her class, and it was amazing. And we ate some things that were kind of crazier, like burdock root, pickled burdock root. That was a crazy one, but something to try.
We've been looking. I'm going to be a little full disclosure. He would be a great guy to come down and help us with our outreach. We're going to get you into doing some national outreach, because you know what you're doing. You're young, you come across well, and we're looking to expand our media team because we have so many requests for these, because we're in all 50 states. We have an international team of writers, so being only an hour away, we're going to try to coerce you to come down in here, and you and Miss Kira can sit and do these all day. I mean, you can't be brewing and create every day. He's got to have a day off here and there.
That sounds like fun.
Oh, it would be. So one of the things I want to get back to that lavender. About 3 years ago, I was on the island of Maui at about 3,500 feet, and there was a distillery there that I went up to visit, and Ocean Vodka. They were beginning to bottle that day, so we drove up. But sitting next to it was thousands of acres of lavender. Now, in my opinion, the last time I had smelled lavender was in my grandmother's underwear drawer, at about the age of 6. So I was like, why is anybody going to a lavender farm? Well, it's beautiful, number one. the scenery they had number 2, but they had there, and to fulfill your dreams, they had the most wonderful lavender scones that you could. I couldn't imagine putting lavender in anything. But you're right. It's tasty. You know, it's a cool, different taste that you can do, and it's amazing. I never thought I'd be eating or drinking anything with lavender in it.
Yeah, and it's definitely a balance with, especially things like lavender and chamomile. That's almost like encourages sleepy time.
That'd be great.
You know,
yeah.
So the reason I didn't go for chamomile was I just felt like it was too much of like seemed like sleepy time tea for me. I tried it, and it's chamomile cider, it didn't work. And then I did lavender, and it's a very similar flavor profile, but it's just a little bit different. But right when I started making the herb ciders, I talked to somebody in the distillery, and I was like, have you guys ever had herb ciders before? And they're like, oh yeah, we were out in Seattle, and they have a bunch of herb ciders over there. I'm like, okay, like what'd you like, what'd you don't like? And they said, honestly, at the point where you can taste like the aromatic part of the herbs, it's like way too much. So like, for instance, the juniper is the aromatic in the hibiscus juniper. The rosemary is the aromatic in the rosehip rosemary, and the lavender is the aromatic in the lemongrass lavender. So I always try to bring it to the point of you can smell it, it's there, but you don't get it like all as the taste.
Yeah.
The major flavor is the first word, the lemongrass, the hibiscus, or the rosehip.
Yeah, well, it was so interesting on Maui. I asked the lavender farm, and they're great people. They're Native Hawaiians at this area, and just beautiful, overlooking Maui. And I said, so these scones, where do you get those? Because they're not baking scones, and these things were, you know, huge, but as size as your fist. And they said, well, it's Jeannie the bread lady, you know, down the road. A woman in her kitchen, I think operating maybe not without the proper licensing, was the first stop. And we went down there to see the story. And you're right. Again, to verify what you're saying, it's like a hint of lavender, and they would bake the lavender and crush it up. And I think the pound of butter they put in them helped. But you know, hey, we're from Wisconsin. You got to add butter. Right. Yeah, they're great. You're right about those aromatics. This is your world. All I do is eat it. If it tastes good, it's going away. You know. But can't wait to stop in there. What other good things you got going on we might have missed? Give us a highlight of. This is your time, and it's all about you. So let us know what we can expect, what good, fun things you do there, and you know what the future looks for a young man from Wisconsin.
Sure. So we got picked up by Frank Beer Distributor, and they're really excited about our product. And when I originally got here, the owners of Old Sugar Distillery had already fermented hard cider, and I just flavored it. This last month, my first start to finish my own batch came ready, and that went out the door to Sardine, Grays, Barley Pop. We're on rotation at Hopcat. We're on rotation at Mr. Brew's on Junction Road, and a few other places in town, Dexter's Pub. And now that we send out our second batch and people are really liking it, we just ordered a 265-gallon bright tank, so I don't have to carbonate. You guys know how to carbonate stuff when you don't have a bright tank?
You just shake the bottle when you get it, right? You know, just
you take this corny keg. It's like this long 5-gallon keg, and you just hook up your CO2 and you shake it for 5 minutes.
Really?
So finally now we have the equipment.
Term.
I don't have to shake all the batches.
Yeah. That's a technical term. Shake it, you know.
Yeah, shake it.
Yeah.
So our plan for this fall is to do like 3,000 gallons or more. So that's we have 80 kegs in our warehouse that I spray painted them black, and I put metallic red hidden Cave Cidery, and so 3,000 gallons, that'll fill all the kegs, and then that'll leave us with like 1,800 gallons to put into cans, which is the next step of this whole thing. I think by next summer we want to be in cans on the shelf. Right now we're just trying to take over as many taps as we can and kind of grow ourselves organically. And if you want to follow us, we're at H Cidery on Twitter, Hidden Cave Cidery on Instagram and Hidden Cave Cidery on Facebook.
Yeah, we got you up on Facebook now, and it's always where we begin. And that's what we're going to do is we'll send you a link to this interview that'll go on your Facebook page if you want, and it'll go out to all your people. It's always a lot of fun. We got people watching today.
Yeah.
And if you could, in our marketing department, is that we're trying to open up the state. So if you have people in your area that you'd like us to call and give notice in our magazine, they might want to advertise and say, hey, we're doing business with you. Because if nobody doesn't want to do business with you, they shouldn't be in your store. You're a great, great young man. You should be proud of what you're doing and with your motivation and what you've done. You knew what you wanted to do right out of the shot. And not a lot of kids, I'm 190 years old. So I've raised 4 boys. They've caused my aging process to go a little bit longer, but they're great. But to come right out of the University of Wisconsin and know exactly what you wanted to do, it comes across very, very well. So stay in touch. I think Miss Kira and I were going to try to be there Friday, and we'll sit and bring up a camera and take some pictures, and we'll give you a call here in a moment. I got some other things I want to talk to you about off air. But anyway, big shout out from the Lynx Libations team here to a fine young man, Walker Fanning. What a great, great story. And you might see here if we can have him come down with Miss Kira, share his knowledge with a lot of people around the country. Wouldn't that be fun, Miss Kira?
Yes, it would.
You'd be awesome. That'd be great. Great smile. I love the enthusiasm. I'd just like to come in the morning and have Walker in my office. We don't have an office, by the way, Walker. We keep it pretty laid back. So anyway, thanks again. We'll be in touch and let us know how we can help anytime. If you got any great stories and win an award, just give us a call. That's what we're here for. We're all Badgers. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kira and Randy. This has been a really fun interview. I'm glad you looked us up and you wanted to do this because I had a lot of fun.
No, we're going to do more. It's great. I think it's great, and I want to watch you grow, and we want to support that. So we'll be in touch. Thank you, Walker. You should be proud. Miss Kira, isn't that super?
Yep.
That's
I'm
great.
excited.
Yeah. Well, cheers. We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers, Walker.
Bye-bye.
Bye.